Hey everybody, it's Bryan with Abound Web Design, and today I have a Squarespace update for you. Squarespace has recently updated their forms block to be able to ask follow-up questions. So, like for example, the example I'm going to use in the video today, it would be like if you had rental locations in different spots around the country, and let's say in a few of the cities that you had one location, but then in one location you had multiple, or one city you had multiple locations. So when on a contact form, if somebody was submitting it and they had a question about the city where you had multiple locations and they selected that city, then you might want to ask a follow-up question of, which location within that city. Instead of having to ask, you used to have to ask two questions, no matter if the second question applied or not, because they could have picked one of the cities where you only had one location, in which case it wouldn't apply. But anyhow, I'm going to show you how to do this now real quick. And so we'll jump over my screen and get started. Okay, so I have a contact form on the homepage of this demo website. So we're going to go to that. I'm going to kind of show you an example of what I'm talking about. So if a person was filling out first name, last name, email, and then this is the question where this would come into play. So like they have a drop down question here. Which location do you have a question about? And then let's say, well, first of all, let's just look at it. If we have the options of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Well, then you have a question there that says if Chicago, which building? Okay, well, but if you pick New York City or Los Angeles, then that question's irrelevant. So what this allows us to do is to actually get rid of that question unless it matters, unless the person selects Chicago. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're just going to edit and then click on the form, click the pencil to edit the form, and then go into edit form fields. And then now we can take away this radio question here. And so now you can see here there's just the which location do you have a question about. So we'll have to go into click on the arrow beside that form field there, which location do you have a question about. And then you have the label there, which is where that question's at. And then on the placeholder, you have select an option, which will tell the person to click the drop down menu there. But when they do that, then they get these options, which we have plugged in as New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago. So you notice that each of these have three dots beside them. So you could do this on every single one of these options if you wanted to. You just add a follow, click the three dots and click add a follow up question. So let's say that New York City and Los Angeles only have the one location in each place, but Chicago you have multiple. You have a couple of buildings that would be an option in Chicago. So you add a follow up question, and then you could just do a radio, and you'd say, so which location do you have a question about? If they pick Chicago, then you would just say which building, and then you can label these building one, and then building two. Now you see the three dots again here, and so it's important to note that once you can't put a follow-up question inside of a follow-up question. That is not possible at this point in time, just with the forms block and the native options in the forms block. So let's go back out here, and I'm going to show you, because there is no save at this point. You just exit out, and then we'll scroll down, and I'll show you what happens. So if someone were to fill out and pick Los Angeles, then there's nothing there. But if they pick Chicago, then you get the follow-up question, which building? Building one, building two. And then you'll see if you go back, let's say New York City, it takes that follow-up question away again. Now, I would also like to add that it's not just the drop-down menu questions that have the follow-up questions. The form fields that you can have a follow-up question on were the drop-down, really anything that you're going to be able to have choices in. And so the drop-down, but then you also have checkbox. So if you go into checkbox, you'll see that you have options here, and on the options, you can add a follow-up question. Same thing with radio. On radio, you have options there. So according to which option they choose, there could be a follow-up question. Same thing for survey. They have options. And so depending on which option they have, you could add a follow-up question. Now, when you do that, these follow-up questions can be any of the form fields. So you have, again, you have the drop down menu, the checkbox, the radio, and the survey form fields. And then you can add a follow-up question to those, and then when you do, it can be any of the form fields that you add to it as a follow-up question. So that's all there is to it. Hope you found that helpful. If you did, please leave a like to help more people find content like this, and subscribe if you want more Squarespace tutorials like this one. And if you'd like me to build your Squarespace website for you, you can find my contact information in the description below.